talk about your first trip to New York, just to kind of get what was it like getting your feet wet there? What was the dip? What was that, like an ice water dip or what?
It was very much an ice water dip. I flew from Tampa into Newark Airport, took the bus to the Port Authority, walked, because no one met me,
Of course not.
to Hell's Kitchen, 46th Street, where the East US org was.
Uh-huh.
And I'm walking in, get met by the receptionist, and given a routing form. I'm thinking, I'm not a public. No, you have to route into the organization because you'll have to route out. I'm like, look, I'm here 48 hours.
And a routing form is basically a piece of paper that takes you from one person to the next and describes in detail what each person is supposed to do with you, so that by the end of the routing form, you have completed whatever it is you're there for.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I'm there about 16, maybe 17 minutes, and I'm already getting my ass chewed.
Okay. Who by who, and what happened?
I was chewed up by an ethics terminal there, an HCO terminal, because I'm standing in the hallway waiting to get into, because the organization has to pay for this. When you go up lines, you have to sign in, and there has to be.
Oh, so that you're having to pay money.
Right, you have to go up the lines. You have to give up. So I have to sign into Treasury or whatever, and I don't remember all the different routing in, and I'm there and I'm talking to a Sea Org member, and we're having a conversation about hey, you're the new ED, and I'm thinking, well, we're just kind of talking back and forth. This is kind of cool, and a Sea Org member, a lady, a woman, walks out, and she walks past me, stares at me, and the ethics person says, what did she want? I said, I don't know what that lady wanted. And his eyes got about this big. You will refer to her as sir. The next words out of your mouth will be sir. I'm like, she's a lady. Okay, do you want to be in trouble? Do you want to start your career here? I mean, this guy chewed my ass for calling a woman a lady.
Right.
I didn't give a shit. I'm getting phone calls when I'm the flag rep, or I'm getting visits when I'm the bookstore officer from these guys in uniform. They don't chew, they're not, it's not like I'm in front of them. So I'm kind of nonchalant. I called her a lady. I got my ass chewed to a nub. I mean, maybe 15 minutes of being screamed at. And I'm like, okay, I guess he wants me to call her sir. I thought it was fucking retarded.
That's the Sea Org.
I'm sorry. I just thought it was the dumbest fucking thing ever.
Right. Did you ever find out who she was?
I think she was some finance terminal.
Okay.
I don't even remember, or an LRH com or something. I don't know who it was.
All right. So then what happened?
So then I'm immediately sent into the course room, and I'm given three policies, and they're all product officer policies. George Thunderbird.
Oh, right. You there, George Thunderbird.
Yeah.
Right. So this is a policy letter called
Name, want, and get. Name, want, and get.
That's right.
And then 40 was about being an ass, basically.
Right. And the policies all describe from Hubbard how to push, debug, drive, how to basically push people hard to get things done.
Right.
And he describes it in detail with actual quotes.
Oh, yeah.
Right,
then
which is where the George Thunderbird comes from. He says, he gives an example of a product officer walking into an area of the organization.
Fire breather.
That's right. And what does he say? Basically,
you're just a fire breathing, just hardcore machine. You're just like your name, want, and get. We'd rather have you dead than incapable. Right. Stuff like that. I mean, just intense. Because everything you do is about getting that production.
Right.
And when you're up there and you're an ED, I never likened myself or called myself a C organization member, but when you're in the CLO, they don't treat you as though you're Joe Public.
Right.
You're the same as them on getting a product. You're in the trenches, you're getting the orders from upper management that get them from Miscavige and all the way up to nosebleed territory, and you're to get it done.
Right.
it was a whole different experience than being in my little organization there and getting a phone call every now and again, or a mission would come in for 2 days and someone would yell and then they'd leave.
Right. Now you're actually in the heart of it.
Now I've got 20-some Sea Org members all yelling at each other and yelling at me.
Wow.
There was a lot of yelling at my first trip.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's walk through it a little bit more. So you get these issues, you read them, and then did you meet your programs chief? Or
I met my programs chief, and I met the other programs chief. I met like 2 or 3 programs chief. My programs chief was actually pretty cool with me. She was like okay with me. She really took the time to understand who I was, asked me where I was from, allowed me to speak a lot more freely than anyone else. I think she was really trying to establish who I was.
Yeah.
She was still all about being hardcore and getting me to be hardcore, but she was at least a lot more real than anybody else.
Yeah.
I met a lot of the ethics terminals, and I met somebody pretty high up in HCO who, she was kind of cute. She kind of took a little bit of a liking to me, and I took a little bit of a liking to her, and we were a little long during a conversation, and her husband came knocking at the door and wanted her to go to chow, and she reprimanded him severely about how she was in the middle of a cycle.
I see.
I think she was in the middle of like thinking that I was good looking and she wanted to talk to me.
I see.
But it was okay. I wasn't trying to be arrogant, but it was just I got a flow other than, but it wasn't like nothing happened.
Yeah.
But it was just like, you could kind of tell there was a little bit of likingness there, and he didn't like it. But that was the first time that I ever seen really like a woman scream at a man terminal, and it didn't seem to be about the organization.
Okay.
It's a little bit, it always kind of stuck with me throughout my years. Like, but she was the person that I had to do the final drill with on how to be sort of hardcore. Wasn't my programs chief. It was this woman here, and I don't remember her name and her post, or if she's even in, but she was like, you have to be more ruthless than their reactive mind. You have to get those people to literally work their guts out, get that product, do this for LRH. There was a lot of do it for LRH.
I see.
And I couldn't go out of her area until I passed that drill on those product officer beat.
Okay.
Because that's really what they wanted out of me. There wasn't really a whole lot of other training.
Right. Okay, I get it. So the whole point of getting you up there was to get your face rubbed in how to be a ruthless prick, basically, as an executive director.
Oh, absolutely.
So you could run these people the way they thought you were supposed to, because that was how they were being run.
Absolutely.
So that you would go down into Tampa and do like they do and get people to, jump when you say jump and get their products done, because those graphs were pathetic.
Yes.
You weren't getting new majors, you weren't getting enough bodies in the shop, you weren't getting enough hours.
Oh, yeah.
And the way to handle that was to yell and scream and be more ruthless with them, or put more pressure on them than their reactive mind was putting on them.
There was very little tact involved in it in terms of building relationships in the organization.
Right.
It was like there wasn't enough time to do that. Could I say that everyone I met at the Sea organization at the East US was mean to me or talked to me to be like completely mean? No. Actually, there was some pretty nice folks there, but it was all bent on how can I apply more pressure than their reactive mind, because yes, Tampa orgs statistics are horrible. And I was always being compared to, look, you're right next to Flag. You're right next to Clearwater Mission. You're right next to the Mecca. You should be able to work with all of these terminals, even though they have their public and whatever. You should be booming. You're in the Scientology Central.
Right.
You should be a bright shining star for the Eastern United States organizations so we can be the best, so we can beat other organizations like the Western United States.
Right.
And I got that told to me a lot of times.
It's a funny and so almost zombie-like simplicity of thinking.
Yes.
That you're supposed to, because you're right next to the largest organization in the world, through some kind of osmosis, you're supposed to also be large.
Well, but
they're not connected really in any way except that you're getting their rejects.
Right. They were very aware of the reject line, and that they actually helped me work that line.
Right.
Because they knew they cannot take certain people. So
well, it's so funny though.
And there's nobody coming through the door, so where's your public coming from?
Well, that's my point is, were you given any direction or any positive training in the direction of how to get new people in, or how to get promotion and marketing done that would actually draw people in to Dianetics and Scientology?
Well,
was there any effort made in that direction?
Standard lines.
Standard, what does that mean?
Chewed my ass for not making, because the magazine wouldn't go out. Had to go out on time, had to go there. Eventually, if you're probably familiar with this, that the C organizations took over the magazines for the orgs.
Yes.
Because we were too incapable of getting it done.
Right.
We'd have typos or errors or whatever, or would go out late, or there would be a skipped month because you had to pay the bills.
Right, you didn't have the money for the magazine.
Right.
Yeah.
So...
But was there any sort of like, okay, you don't have the money for the magazine, so the handling for that was to chew your ass about that. Was there any like, okay, well, we know you don't have the money for that, so do this instead?
No, I came up with something.
Okay.
I went completely off of Hubbard's policies per what you were supposed to do, and I came up with a very small, simple, easily readable newsletter.
Okay.
That I put wins of PCs, wins in the courtroom, what we were doing at Tampa, and I called it something I can't remember, and I sent it out once a month, and I actually got more from that little piece of paper than I ever did from one of the flag-driven magazines.
Well, that's just so shocking to me. I just can't even believe that.
Yeah, I did that, and there's an interesting story. I got in a lot of trouble doing that.
I'll bet you did.